Please hold. Your call is very important to us. All operators are busy at this time.
There's only 4 spots available at the playoffs, yet we still have 7 teams battling it out to make the cut. Hello and welcome to the final week of the Six Masters 2020 season. I'm Guz. Joining me for all of the action is Raven, and we should be in for an absolute treat once again.
I cannot state how excited I am for tonight and this week in general. Coming to fruition is the Six Masters season, and it's been so tight. I actually can't even think of the time we've had a competition in ANZ where it really has been this tight right up to the finish line.
Well, before we delve into all of tonight's action, make sure if you haven't already, follow at Rainbow Six ANZ on all of your favorite social media platforms. And of course, if you jump over to Twitter, you can participate in the polls. And I mean, good luck to you. If you can get them right, I'm sure you'll agree, Raven, but this season has been incredibly difficult to predict.
Yeah, I kind of feel like sometimes it's just so easy to overthink predictions in this season because so many of these teams have been putting in great performances against teams that they've previously struggled to beat. So yeah, I agree with that sentiment. Good luck if you're trying to do predictions in this.
And I mean, that's made for a really close mid-table. Let's have a look at the standings and see where everyone sits heading into tonight. Of course, keep in mind that the top 4 will make it to the playoffs. But as I mentioned earlier, there are currently 7 teams, Raven, that can make that cut.
Yeah, as you guys can see there, from 4th position down to 7th, there's only 6 points that separate them. That's 2 map wins. And a lot of these teams are really playing each other in these final few days of Six Masters. So there is just so much that can change with these standings. Wildcard are up there in first. They are the only team secure in the top 4. But they can lose first place, funnily enough, to potentially Sinister if they don't manage to put some map wins together. So there are changes everywhere possible.
One thing to note as well is that not all the teams have played the same amount of matches due to the reschedule, so keep that in mind as you take in the standings. But let's jump into today's schedule and see who will be playing. First up, it'll be last place Kanga taking on 7th placed LFO, and then later in the evening we will have an absolute banger between Elevate and Akami.
That Elevate Akami game is high stakes, and I'm sure we are going to beat that to death as we get later on. But Kanga and LFO is also not a game to overlook. Kanga have the chance to really end it for LFO. If LFO aren't able to get a map win or even both map wins in that first series, that's their playoff chances really ended.
Well, tonight is their last opportunity to get a map win. They're yet to do so in this season. Let's have a look at that Kanga roster, and man, they've had a rough season.
Yes, unfortunate for Kanga, they have had a rough season. They went right into a rebuild at the start of Six Masters, and it never really came out glowing for them until recently. I mean, they have been putting in some great performances. Last week in particular, they had a really solid series against Ferox, losing a 7-8 overtime map. So they've come close, Guz, and they've had some shining lights through Leb, Campo, Novakes as well as a debutant for them. They've been putting in some better performances at least.
Well, they've had a bit of a reputation for getting draws so far this season against some really strong teams. It is, of course, LFO find themselves in 7th place heading into this evening, but they still just have a chance to make the playoffs. But every round from in on out really counts for them.
Yep, got to be perfect for LFO here on in. They've had some shaky performances. They started off Six Masters really well. They took maps of Elevate, Okami, Wildcard. Solid performers there. But recently against Knights and Sinister, they have had not quite the same performance. And this is where it needs to change them. It's their last opportunity.
Yeah, I think the thing for LFO, at least for me, is that they probably still, despite being in 7th, have probably exceeded the expectations of many, or at least myself. I'm sure many people are expecting this lowest seeded team, of course, coming through the open quals, to really struggle. But they have had good performances. The consistency just needs to sort of rise to the occasion here if they want to be a chance at making the playoffs.
I agree, and they are 7th place, but coming in as that open qualifier team, coming in at last seed, there was very little expectations on LFO to make a dent. And here we are in the final week talking about them potentially making top 4 playoffs. So I think already, in my eyes, they've essentially won their 6th Masters. This is exceeding expectations of almost anybody that would have looked at this right at the start.
Well, of course, we have the map veto ready. It's a best of 2. Let's bring up the bans for each team and see where we will not be heading. Clubhouse taken out by Kanga. No massive surprises there. And then Border for LFO.
Clubhouse has been a shining light for LFO in 6 Masters. So that's a great ban from Kanga to just not allow them to choose that. And Border, I think, is probably more of a comfort ban from LFO. It's not something that Kanga have played at all, in fact, in 6 Masters. I imagine they just don't want to bother going there.
Well, interestingly enough, Cafe is still on the board. Let's roll through the picks and see if we will head there. Yes, I was right. There we go. So Kanga will be picking Coastline and then LFO following that up onto Cafe.
I think the Coastline pick from Kanga is great. They had that solid map against Ferox last week. That was the one that was 7-8. They were so close to getting that match. Every round, especially the second half of that whole map, was just insanely close. So I think they've got a taste of it on Coastline. There's every chance they could push forward with that. And then LFO and Cafe, they've had some great performances there. And Kanga have had some lackluster ones. So I think LFO playing into their strengths and a Kanga weakness.
And I mean, yeah, Cafe is a map that we've seen, as you mentioned, both these teams play a lot of. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one sort of turns out. I mean, heading back to Coastline, though, as you mentioned, last week they took on Ferox. Kanga did. It was 7-8. They narrowly missed points there. So maybe they're trying to replicate that form and try to get their first win of the season because they've been so close.
Yeah, and there's always two sides to that coin as well. You can play to your strength, and if they can replicate the strengths they had on Coastline, maybe that will be enough to get them the win this time. But on the other hand, LFO now have such a fresh VOD on that map of how Kanga replicated that success or how they created that success against Ferox. So LFO now have a really solid tool to try and counter that.
And I mean, it's interesting that you bring that up because LFO, speaking to Enigma, it seems like they're a pretty regimented team. They like to go into their games feeling prepared. Speaking to him off stream as well, they've been doing sort of a lot of internal review and trying to get their team the best that it can be. So if you're right, if they've looked at that VOD, it being full distance as well, there's a lot to go off. So Kanga could be caught with their pants down if LFO read into them pretty well here.
Yeah, definitely an opportunity for that with LFO. And again, we have to remind you, they need to be perfect tonight. They need to be getting these map wins under their belt so they can stay alive for playoffs. And it's up to Kanga. Kanga, while they're not really able to get out of last place or make it further in 6 Masters, they can stop somebody else from doing so. And this is their first opportunity against LFO.
And I think that's really dangerous. Kanga don't have really any pressure. The only perceived pressure they have is that they're yet to win a map, but that doesn't really count for anything because even if they do win, well, they're not going to move positions. So they could just come out of the gates here, play super confident, and LFO could be forced into their shell, which could negatively impact how they play out this series.
And that brings up a really good point about mindset. Going into this, all the pressure is on LFO. They need to be winning these maps in order to keep their playoff fight alive. Whereas, like you've said, Kanga, they've got nothing to lose. They are just going to be playing for some fun, playing to win, and that can be a really dangerous mixture.
Well, let's bring up that poll vote and see what you guys at home think for this series. And wow, it's actually going to be quite close. LFO just edging out.
Just a little bit. And honestly, I feel like there might have. I thought there would have been a little bit more maybe in the draw. But yeah, I think this series is a tough one to call because of the stakes, because of the way the pressure adds up. And on top of that, the way Kanga played last week will make some people question if they are still in their slump or whether they're coming out on the other end of that.
And I guess, yeah, that's another really good point. We've talked time and time again throughout this season about Kanga being in a slump. I guess when does it come to the point where that slump is just their form? Because outside of last week, their last play date, hasn't really looked like it's been upwards. I think today is really going to be telling. If they can finish off the season strong, they might be able to carry that on to further tournaments. But if they fall back to their old habits, then that's really going to hurt them, I think, heading into the future.
And that's the tough thing when you are in that rebuild phase. Consistency is one of the things that comes much later. And like you've played a lot with your team, you've got good synergy, that's when you can really think about building consistency. So right now, that's where I think the spotlight on Kanga could be. Not that I think that really gives them any pressure, but for us, that's what we want to be seeing as fans, viewers, analysts, whatever you are. You want to start seeing that consistency come out of Kanga. Last week was a great step for them. Hopefully they can make another one.
And I guess talking about building up their squad and their consistency, Novaic only recently really has come onto the team. And I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I feel like he's had a really strong start. He's had a positive impact. He doesn't really seem like he's been thrown in the deep end at all and actually had quite a positive influence on that team. How do you sort of see that going forward? Because so far it's looking pretty solid for him and his team.
For sure, Novaic has had a great start to his berth with Kanga. Both weeks that he's played, I think he was relatively instrumental. And I know in that Coastline game, he had some really important picks. I remember Xenox, who was casting it a couple of times, he pointed out that Novaic was finding the opening pick for Kanga, and it was really giving them those initial look-ins on the rounds. And that meant that they were just in better positions in general to be winning rounds, whereas in previous weeks, we'd been seeing so many flawless rounds going against them. Of course, they got 0-7 against Wildcard. So he really has been a total breath of fresh air for Kanga.
Well, it's time for the first map of the evening. Kanga taking on LFO. We're heading to Coastline. So keen to jump into this one. Kanga looking to get their very first map win. LFO needs to be faultless the rest of the season. Let's get into it.
Get right into it indeed. Again, high stakes here. LFO need to be perfect. Kanga have a chance to derail that. And derail that maybe. Capitao is a solid ban coming out. It is actually on the side of LFO, and it's something that Kanga have used a bit of. Of course, the asphyxiating bolts help with area denial and just cutting off rotates in general. So that's something that Kanga will not be able to lean on now.
Habana will be taken off the board as well. We will occasionally see a hard breach ban here on Coastline. Habana can shut down a couple of key angles, particularly when playing around the top floor, but she won't see any play, and Mirror will be followed up there. A pretty common ban that we've come to expect.
Yes, just a intel denial, as well as I don't want to deal with clearing a mirror, so let's just ban it. And LFO, I've got to credit these bans. I mean, the Capitao was a good one, and the Goyo, we haven't seen much of Goyo banned. He can be troublesome to deal with, brings, of course, those extra shields, and on top of the fact that they are shields, the fire pit is area denial. So banning that out, I think, is just going to make attacking, at least for LFO, just that touch simpler.
Almost looked Kanga were going to stick a lion there, and that would have been a real indication that things were going to get spicy in the first round, but Boats does jump back to Nomad, and no, back to lion. So, I mean, looking at this on face value, Kanga may well rush the first round here, and that could set a pretty interesting precedent for how this series could play out.
And they don't have anything to lose, so why not try a rush straight away? All reason to do so. I mean, it might not be the case, but we'll wait and see how they do actually utilize this line. They were utilizing it a little bit in previous weeks. I believe last week against Verox on Coastline, that lion did come out, and they were using it to assist them with the roam clear and just help them, again, get better starts to their rounds. Because previously they were being flawless, they were really stalling out and struggling to make things happen.
Of course, if you are just joining us, LFO currently 7th in the standings. They basically need a flawless end to this season. They have this matchup against Kanga, and then later in the week they will be taking on Ferox. They basically need all 4 map wins to be a chance to make the top 4 for the Six Masters playoffs. Kanga, on the other hand, well, they're yet to win a map at all, so they're looking to try and get that under their belt as well, and maybe try and disrupt some of these teams' dreams at making those playoffs later in the season.
So far, no rush, as we potentially theorized on. They have made quick progress to the building at least, which is great, and we're seeing a lot of drones coming here through the west side office into Blue Bar. Great pre-fire from Spruce towards the kitchen door. Doesn't quite find anything. Right now, this is looking decent from Kanga. It's an aggressive push up to the building. I like their drone usage. And there could already be an early flush here onto this player playing in Sunrise, which is the alibi.
Spruce aids by opening the softball, and Sogs will be disrupted and taken down by Leb. So a three-man hunt of that roaming alibi will prove successful. Good start here for Kanga. Decent map control as well. I'm expecting them to try and get some more work done above, though. Otherwise, these members on site will still be feeling pretty comfortable.
This is a great start from Kanga because that was beautiful teamwork to pinch that alibi in Sunrise. They used 3 players, lots of drones, great utility to be able to get rid of that roamer, and they've given themselves a lot of time. And Sogs is also a bit of an impact player on occasions for LFO. So I think this has just been a great sign of good teamwork from Kanga right out of the gate.
Of course, we are now past the halfway point, and Kanga will need to start getting something done on towards side. It doesn't look like they've gone for too much vertical. Spruce does look like he might be above, even on the roof, but I haven't heard that skeleton key go off. LFO pretty content in sitting on side, and that could prove dangerous as they try and filter in late round.
Kanga need to be careful here too, because there are some long angles from the luggage hallway in towards kitchen, and Novex might be walking right into that. I thought there was a player around there, not going to capitalize on it. He does get the entry onto the Legion, which means they have control of kitchen. Otis progressing through. This D4 could end everything though. Doesn't make a frag. There are 2 Kanga players onto LFO's 1 on site now with 40 seconds to go. Plant is starting to go down.
Novex does get that pick and covers the planter. Heals and Agmo now left in a 2-on-4 post-plant scenario. Make that a 1-on-4. Spruce still sitting on the roof gets that pick, and this has been a great start here for Kanga. Surely Heals can't clutch this. He does get 1. The Wester surely just pad his stats. 30 seconds left on the fuse. It's basically done. Hills knows that he's not really a chance. Too many angles here to surely shut down, and there we go. Kanga will take the first round. A little bit sloppy in the execute, but they brought it back well.
I'm really feeling, Guz, LFO are under pressure right now. They looked flat-footed. I didn't feel like they were reacting a lot to what Kanga were doing. I mean, they just had their way with that alibi and Sunrise, and then they had such good map control near the kitchen, and there was little reactiveness from LFO, and by the time Kanga entered in and got the plant down, I mean, it was way too late at that stage.
I mean, it'd be fair to say that LFO are one of the more aggressive teams or fluid teams, however you want to describe it. And yeah, that first round, as he said, might be telling that they're feeling pressure because they're not really playing the way that we would come to expect. And it wasn't necessarily the fact that Kanga had shut down a lot of those rotates early. They just didn't quite react in time and left it too late. They're going to reattempt that site though, so maybe bring something to the table this round.
Yeah, the 6th thing off the alibi, so that didn't work out. It was Sogs there. He was the opening death. They've gone with the Valkyrie, so additional intel. You could argue that Prismas do serve as intel, but that's more, I guess you could call active intel, in that you would need to shoot those Prismas before you actually get it, whereas the Valkyrie cameras, you have access to that full time. So maybe they were caught off guard by Kanga, not sure about their entry points or something to that degree. That might be where that adaptation's come from.
10 seconds to insertion.
Kanga lineup looked pretty similar. I was quite surprised that Kanga got away with their lack of vertical presence that last round. They really didn't do a whole lot in flushing out sight. They were able to just send it, and a lack of reactivity from LFO pretty much handed them that round win. So I'm not sure if Kanga on this occasion will be a bit more aggressive above. It does look like LFO will be holding that, so maybe Kanga will again just ignore it and head straight into the site.
And on the topic of Kanga's lineup, I just find the lion pick very alluring to me. Just, they're not using it for anything too cheesy, so to speak. Like they're not rushing and they're not straight up just hunting and killing roamers with pure use of those lion scans. They're actually just helping them in little areas here and there. And Boats is also just doing a great job with that gun. A bit of an LMG in its own right.
Oh,
And it can be really helpful, but oh, those bullets are going to rain down onto Novakes. And his entry is not successful this time, so that's a better start for LFO.
more aggression here from LFO in the second round. Drops the diffuser inside of blue. Kanga should be able to collect it. Boats a little bit wary of that angle in towards kitchen, but it should be safe. Drone will confirm that.
Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
Diffuser is recovered, and Kanga can now try and, I guess, recover the round if you would. Plenty of time left in the round, but they do feel stalled out after that first pick.
This has been an issue for Kanga, and it is an issue in general. You know, when you lose that entry, you do stall out a bit. You have to figure out what hole that now creates, how you can rotate to cover that, how you adapt. Maybe that operator is critical. In this instance, not necessarily the case. Ash doesn't really leave a critical utility hole. A little bit of soft breach, but there was Goyo banned, so there's less shields likely on site. The utility that does need to be cleared isn't really going to be affected by that.
Bit of a standoff as Mims gets his second. Spruce again holding the roof and he rotates, but he might be forced in towards site soon as Angmo also finds one for his team. And yeah, Kanga not looking great here in round two. Not able to find those picks early round, and it's proving costly. Unless Spruce can maybe find heals and a couple of picks below. I don't think they're going to win the round. He does get aggressive, but he is left in a 1-on-5 essentially, and there we go. He will be taken off the board. LFO with a bit more of reactivity will take that second round.
No, they just didn't let Kanga do what Kanga were trying to do this time. Whereas last time they were just staying still. Kanga tunneled through. So great adaptation from LFO. They bring the score out to 1-1. Looks like we've got a pretty solid game on our hands so far, guys. It is only 2 rounds deep, but it's great to see that these teams are reading into each other and that LFO aren't staying under that pressure umbrella, at least at this stage.
It's looking like a good game, I agree. Of course, keep in mind, last time Kanga played this map, it was against Ferox in their most recent playday. It went all the way, and Kanga lost 7-8 in the end. Again, early days, but I mean, with the stakes as high as they are, I would not be surprised if this game went into overtime. That's really going to ramp up the pressure, particularly, of course, for LFO, who cannot afford to lose a map.
So they will have to keep it up. And of course, it's not just this map. There is another map after this that LFO will be feeling that pressure on. It all just starts here, but it does not end on Coastline. Kanga up assisting with their lineup. Now keeping that line, keeping the Ash of Novakes, who has been doing a great job with entries so far.
5 seconds remaining.
Using this as a flexible lineup. They're not trying to adapt to what they see in a real phase from LFO. It's just that this is what we're sticking with. This gets everything done.
I mean, that sort of is a reflection of their mindset as a team, looking internally and trying to improve and control what they can control and not worrying or over-worrying about what another team is doing. It's a trend that I think many teams are currently doing, looking internally as opposed to solely counter-stratting. Bit of a standoff here. In office, Novakes again on the entry with the G3. ACOG, of course, is aware that there is at least one above, so he won't be able to enter that just yet.
On the topic of counter-stratting, I mean, you do have to be careful with how much you place into counter-stratting, because you can plan for one thing and just be so sure that's what your opponent's going to do, and if they adapt to that, you have to have stuff to fall back on. So you can't just be the fox chasing the rabbit, because instead of getting the rabbit, you might just end up biting your own tail.
Oh, God. That was a good one, Raven. I'll give you that one. How many play days have you been sitting on that one for?
Exactly 0.
Nice. Well done. That was good. I definitely rate that. Thank you. Well, Kanga, they've gathered some nice control over towards Pent Theatre. Setting up some flank drones as well. Campo may well head the entry in luggage as he now rotates to 90, maybe trying to clear some utility. And I don't think he cleared the shield there. I think it might have been caught by an ADS, so potential misplay there from Campo. The shield is still up, so that could prove costly. Leb will get a pick though.
Yeah, great team take of Aquarium there. Nothing following it up from LFO, which is what we saw in that first round of Kitchen. They have found a trade elsewhere in Office, but that isn't quite sight, and that's still good map control or map positioning that Kanga can have in Aquarium, which is currently free right now. They do have to worry about Mims with the C4s below, but other than that, they now have access into Billiards, which is the bomb site.
I was going to say, no one from Kanga really pressuring this position, but Novaics will rotate late alongside Campo. Neither of them are able to get the kill, but oh, that's a wide pick from Mims. That will get him his double. This is dangerous now for Kanga. Man, disadvantage, 30 seconds on the clock, and Mims could well find another. He does. That's a triple for the round, and now Lev and Boats are left to enter Aqua. They still could be C4'd, and they will be. Mims with the ace. What a massive round from him. Absolutely owning Office. That's a great third round there from LFO.
Vincier-esque of Sinister there. I saw him get an ace from a similar position in Aquarium at least, but great round from Mims. We've seen him step up for LFO in 6 Masters in previous weeks. Flashback to week 1 against Elevate. He had a banger of a week against them, which really allowed LFO to get that map win. So here he is again stepping up. That's what you love to see, and that means they've got the early lead now.
Kanga just really struggling to flush out that single player, unfortunately costing them in the end. The aggression from LFO definitely ramping up in his last 2 rounds, and I guess the scoreboard has been reflective of that success. It's really up to LFO to keep bringing that to the table, try and force Kanga into a bit of a shell, and I guess it's a shell that we have seen them fall into quite a bit this season. Fortunately for them, LFO will be looking to try and exploit that.
It does feel like Kanga can weather a little bit more of the storm in their current state. They did have that long haul map last week, and in fact they've had quite a few overtime maps in their 6 Masters campaign here. It's been 1, 2, 3 overtime maps so far in 6 Masters, which is quite a bit, to be honest. I believe that would be quite up there with probably the most out of most of the teams in 6 Masters. So they have had their fair share of opportunities to take maps, still not happened yet. Their last chance tonight.
Final setup being done here by LFO. Quite an aggressive offsite hold, only 2 members currently inside of the objective. Not too uncommon here on Blue Bar Sunrise. Definitely something that Kanga will need to deal with. Drones are heading out to try and locate where these roamers may be positioned. Hill's spotted at the bottom of white there, but he should have a great opportunity to rotate out. And he just falls back to security and wasting more time here for Kanga.
Back up there in security from Hills. Mims in the office yet again. Guess he might be playing at the home of Mims if he manages to go off yet again. See what happens in this round. But all of a sudden, actually, almost half the round has vanished before us, guys. Kanga have struggled a lot more to get map control. Spruce is finally pushing towards Hookah and open up that floor, which will put pressure into Sunrise.
Big brother incoming.
Time management definitely been a weakness of Kanga on occasion. These last few rounds are proving that. Angmo gets the first pick, and again, Kanga will be on the back foot. Spruce desperately trying to find a pick below, but he just can't see anyone, and that site control could prove costly as Kanga try and enter.
Must be careful here too. And disadvantage, time ticking away with less than a minute now. Still don't really have much control as they would like, and they haven't flushed out some pretty critical positions, such as this one hard right here in Sauna. Some shots coming out to Novaics. He's lucky not to have taken more damage there. Kanga just stacking up around here, and I fear they're just going to end up having to funnel through this doorway, and that could really be to their demise.
Novaics does have an Ash charge to try and get rid of this shield, and he's waiting for the call to do so. Maybe trying to clear the ADS before he attempts it, and oh, That will be one more kill again for LFO here, and Lev still trying to flush out this position. Does eventually get it, is refragged, but it will leave it effectively in a 2-on-2, but no. Novax is taken down, and now Spruce is left in a 1 versus 2, and he will be taken down. Mims is absolutely popping off at the moment, and LFO will take 3 in a row.
Oh boy, it is quite the Mims show so far in these last 2 rounds especially. I think there was a triple on that one for him, plus the ace in the previous round. So just in those 2 rounds, guys, that's, if you did the math, 8 kills. I don't know what he got in the first one, but he's stepping up so far. And if LFO do jump out to a solid lead, not too sure how Kanga will be able to come back.
Again, Kanga will bring the same lineup, so no real adaptation in that regard. In saying that, right on cue, Boats will actually switch onto Nomad, so there will be a change to this lineup. Kanga trying to cut off some of these rotates that LFO are clearly abusing,
Need to locate and
unpunished.
defuse bombs.
It feels like that first round was just a little bit of a warm-up, let the cobwebs be swept out, and now they're just controlling the map like it's theirs.
And that's the thing, right? We talked about them being flat-footed is the word that I used in that first round, and it's like they just snapped out of it. And sometimes in a high-stakes match or high pressure, it can be like that. In your first round, you go in, it can either go 2 ways. Usually, you either crumble because you're really feeling it and you're super nervous and you're just
10 seconds
hard
left.
shaking that pressure, or some people thrive on that and they just go off in that first round. I really feel like for LFO, it was that former. They've shaken off that first round, they're back into playing their style of Siege, and now it's really back on Kanga to adapt to that and figure out what they need to do to swing it back into their favor.
Of course, LFO are defending the kitchen objective. It's the 3rd time we've seen them go here. Their last 2 attempts, they had a 50% success rate. I'll be looking to translate that form from the 2nd round over into this one. Really try and end off or conclude the rest of this half strongly and not give Kanga any look in when they play on the defense. I think typically it's fair to say that Coastline is somewhat attacker favored just due to the nature of the map. I mean, the stronger this half is from LFO, the chances of Kanga just continue to diminish, I think.
Ready in concussion.
So far, I mean, it's only been a minute. Kanga have cleared out Sunrise. There was the Mozzie playing in there, which was Sogs yet again. And at least he didn't die this time, but they've still managed to get this map control nice and early. This is a good start for Kanga. They haven't really hard taken VIP just yet, and they will have to deal with hills if they wanted to do so. Angmo just playing very patiently over there in Luggage Hallway as well. That is not something that Kanga identify. That really could come back and hurt them in that middle round.
Novax with the diffuser enters below in towards Sunrise. A pretty similar attack to what we saw Kanga attempt last time. Just walk straight in through the door and try and get the plant down. Campo tries to use his lifeline to good effect. Novax, meanwhile, is actually rotated out, so maybe he'll go towards the window for a plant attempt. But again, Kanga just don't really seem to have a direction at the moment. This could be a gunfight. Boats and Sogs, it's a standoff. Oh, Boats almost gets taken out. Sogs still on 100 HP. That could have been a terrible start for Kanga.
Say start, but I mean, we're in the last minute here, guys, and that was the real first engagement. Boats, I don't know how he's still alive, to be honest. He's only on 1 shot. It's really looking like LFO again. Kanga have completely stalled out, have failed to find an opening pick, which means it's going to all go bang in about 10-15 seconds. Otherwise, they will not have time for a plant. Spruce misses some shots on the Mims. That could have been that critical kill. And still Sogs is causing havoc from lobby here, guys. This is looking pretty tough for Kanga.
Sogs does get refragged, and there we go. Classic Coastline frags left, right, and center. Novax will be picked up. Both these players are 1 shot though. Surely this isn't winnable. Novax now left all alone. And there we go. He'll be taken down. And LFO, they're just running riot at the moment. Kanga really, really struggling.
They are, and I can't really pinpoint exactly what it is, whether there may be some communication issues. whether there's something else. I mean, they're not gaining as much map control as I think they need to be. That is one area for sure. For example, if they had better taken control of VIP and Penthouse earlier in the round, that would have put so much more pressure on LFO to get out of sight, and Kanga might have had more of an opening or even gotten some more picks to allow them to have more presence at the end of round.
It's time for the last round in the half. LFO looking to extend that lead 5-1. Kanga trying to crawl back. A map that started off well for them, but these last 4 rounds have really gone by in a flash, and Kanga haven't really had a look in on any of them. Something really needs to change here on this final attack if they want to give themselves a good chance to bring it back, but there's been a real lack of innovation. Again, their picks will reflect that.
Activating camera.
They just don't seem to be... Can't really put into words, but just... Kanga just don't seem to be thinking... I don't know, that's a really lazy way of thinking about it. They're obviously thinking, but maybe they're just not able to translate that to what they want to try and execute here, because it just hasn't come into fruition in LFO. They're just running around everywhere doing what they want.
Camera in position.
Sometimes it's tough, and Kanga have definitely been a team that struggled this season with a lot of things. Adaptation is one. I'm sure communication is another, because they have got that refreshed lineup, if you want to call it that. So some things will falter. I do want to gas up Mims here. He's on 11-1. I just did peek at the scoreboard. He's 11-1 so far, and that's after 5 rounds. So he is having a stellar game for LFO. It's not that the rest of his team is not, but I just think Kanga need to find Mims and just avoid him.
Kill Mims, win round? Stonks.
Maybe.
I mean, yeah, he's really been the catalyst for this aggression from LFO. Talk about aggression. Nasty gets punished there by Campo. So Kanga will finally get that opening pick early here in round number 6. It's going to be up to them to try and translate this towards some quick map control and get something working in on towards site.
Bomb located by attackers.
It's looking like they're shaping up for an aqua take.
Definitely looks to be the case. Bruce has taken Aqua by himself there, and with still a lot of the round to go. This is good positioning. He's going to get aggressive, guys. He's pushing deep. He's not even checking some of these angles. Finds one in Vase, misses some shots though, so they are aware he's there, as Boats has found one of LFO's teammates elsewhere. So Kanga are looking good now in this round. All of a sudden, 5 versus 1, guys.
Well, it might not be over yet. Mims is ace 1 round. Now needs to find his second. Spruce will finally attempt the plan, as Mims is, feeling the heat a little bit here. It's probably not really a chance, to be honest. Kanga now will set up for the post plant. 40 seconds left on that fuse. Mims makes his way up and gets air jabbed once. There could be more waiting for him. Head checking a lot of these angles and trying to find a couple more picks for his KD. That diffuser is well and truly in the open, and Kanga will be sitting way back holding that. And yeah, Mims, you're probably not going to win this round, mate. Try and find a pick. Nope. Oh, he's still looking dangerous. They can't kill him. Kanga really struggling here, and Mims will actually get a pick. The refrag was a little bit slow there as well, but eventually Kanga will secure the round. And yeah, how did Spruce get into sight? That is what I would like to know.
I agree. They really just let him slip through. Nobody was playing drink spot in billiards either, so he just got all the way through to that double door, made a lot of impact at Vase, and on top of that, you have to think about, once LFO realized, that's going to cause some panic. They're going to be like, whoa, what the hell? Spruce is already here. And then in that panic, Kanga can capitalize, and that they did. They made it to a 5 versus 1. Mims quite closely took that pressure, but he couldn't make enough effect to bring it back for LFO. 4-2 half for them in the end, which is pretty decent for a defense on Coastline.
Defenders, protect your
I mean, reflecting back on that very first round, it really felt like LFO were under the pump, but they did bring it back quite convincingly there and set themselves up nicely for the second half. Even that most recent round really felt like a little bit of luck to the side of Kanga. I can't think of too many rounds where you can just walk straight through Aqua, straight into sight. I mean, great for them. I mean, they capitalized on a pretty big error by LFO, but It's going to be interesting to see what sort of adaptations Kanga are bringing into this second half, because that
5
first half
seconds left.
definitely felt like they were lacking in that department.
Attacker's objective is to defuse a bomb.
The slate is clean essentially because they are now on defense, so it's a completely different style of game, so to speak, in these two different halves, and it's going to come down also to what LFO throw at them with these attacks. They are all spawned on a singular side here, and wondered whether maybe we might have seen a first round rush from LFO, but no, not the case.
Campo finding himself under quite a bit of pressure. It's a position that LFO themselves were holding when they were defending this side, and Kanga took a long time to flush it out. LFO, though, are making it their priority early round to try and clear that. A lot of utility is covering that setup. Flashbangs are being utilized to try and burn that off. That EMP as well being used, and grenade will be cooked. Campo could be taken out here if he isn't careful, and he is. Campo doesn't hear the frag cooked and will be taken down. That's a misplay by him. LFO will get the opening pick.
Yeah, you gotta move, bro. Like, I'm not sure why he was sitting there and just eating the util burn. Not expecting a grenade. That's really unfortunate and bad. Reading there from Kanga. Spruce has been taken out elsewhere, which means LFO have a solid man advantage in this first round of their attacks. Looking pretty promising. Still a minute 30 to go means with this map control and man advantage, it's looking pretty grim for Kanga.
Still half the round to go here for the attack. Mims with the diffuser is droning ahead, trying to gain some intel for the rest of his team. He's actually currently playing above, and also running the AR-33, which is quite peculiar. Definitely some personal preference there. Does appear as if Kanga have vacated the site, but they're ready for a retake. Leb, though, in the meantime, is taken down, and surely LFO can just send it in and refrag it for the rest of the round.
I don't think the rest of LFO need to do anything. Mims is just on it, man, and he doesn't actually get that final kill. I was about to say he did, but no, he doesn't. But LFO do get the round, and even still, Mims is on fire right now. I didn't quite see where his score ended up, but it's something crazy. And LFO are looking like they are going to run away with this. That was a really good attack for their first one, and they're only 2 rounds away from taking the map.
Of course, keep in mind that it is the Kanga's map pick. Some would argue that this is their best opportunity to win their first map of the season, and potentially their only map of the season, but it hasn't really gone that way so far. LFO just dominating them here for the most part. And LFO, of course, not taking any chances. They need to basically win every single map from here on out. Give themselves even a sniff at making the top 4 for the playoffs. So they will not be lifting off the gas anytime soon here. They just want to close this out with confidence.
Kanga are going to have to pull some tricks out to get themselves back into this. 3-round deficit is nothing to sneeze at. Of course, if LFO just get this next round, this current round, well then Kanga have to force overtime to save the map. The other side, or the flip side, to what we've talked about with pressure and not much being on Kanga, sometimes in this instance when you're down 2-5, you don't maybe have that extra motivation to bring it back. Not to say they're not going to try, but without that pressure on you, sometimes you can just relax too much, if you know what I mean.
Maybe it depends on how badly Kanga want to knock LFO out of playoff contention. Get some revenge for placing last this season and being outdone by that bottom seeded team who is LFO. Not all hope is lost there. If Kanga can maybe get around here and try and gain some momentum, there'll be a chance, but it hasn't really looked on any occasion like they actually are a genuine there is a genuine opportunity for them to take it. LFO taking their time a little bit more this round. Mims on cue though will get aggressive, droning ahead inside of Pent. There are players in theater. If Mims can pick them off, then that'll open the round up big here for LFO.
Some good progress, and something that we were critical about of Kanga was their lack of vertical control in through
What
VIP. And
the-
oh, Mims, what was that shot? You
Attackers
cannot
drop
be
the bomb
stopped right now. Kanga just need to be careful. It is a 3 versus 3 though. There was some great trades elsewhere. Does put some pressure back onto LFO. And what I was saying is that Kanga weren't taking that vertical control, which LFO have seemingly got, while there is still no Vakes in theater though. I'm not 100% sure that LFO are actually aware of that.
Attackers recovered the diffuser.
Hills collects the diffuser. And yeah, I don't think he was really too concerned about a player inside a theater, so no Vakes. Could be on for a play here. Really depends on where LFO try and set up for the plant. Hill's still above. He needs to be mindful he doesn't get taken out. Mims has already vacated the top floor, so no Vakes is
A bomb
basically
has been
left all
located.
alone in a very powerful position for the late round here.
Bomb located by attackers.
It's the benefit of being time efficient. LFO have still quite a bit of time in the pocket to drone things out, find out where these final Kanga players are, and see what they can make work if they want to get a plant down. Worth noting, the only 2 rounds that Kanga did win on the attack were the 2 rounds they got a plant down.
Attackers have
That says a lot about stats. As Mims goes into kitchen, he's going to get gassed out though.
attackers bomb diffuser.
That means
has
time
been
is really
dropped.
against them and
Attackers
positioning.
recovered the bomb diffuser.
Campo low. The Slugs will send it in for the plant. Now it's Mims to cover. He's been on fire this map, but how many can he find? It's only the one, and Sogs will need to go for the refrag. He does find it. The player's behind him though. Does he know? No Vakes on that flank is all the way over towards the blue bar door, and now Sogs
5 seconds
will
to
be
go.
forced to stick the plan. He fakes it once to try and bait no Vakes. It works. Is it enough though? No Vakes. Surely he can hold on, and he does. Kanga will take the round. No Vakes on one of the longest and slowest flanks I think I've ever seen on Coastline will manage to clutch the round.
Sometimes, guys, if it works, it works. And look, it managed to work just then. And Kanga just need any round possible in any way possible at this stage. Good effort from LFO though. I mean, they had good site control. I have to feel if Mims didn't get downed in that kitchen position, it really would have gone the other way. But regardless, it was a really great contest. Kanga are going to move on to Blue Bar Sunrise. We did see them lose that in pretty poor fashion in the first round of this half.
I really thought Mims was going to be able to cover
Attackers
that.
need to locate and
Kanga
defuse the bomb if they
really
can.
brought the aggression to them. That double pick meant that you couldn't shoot 2 at once. So well
Attackers
played by
discovered
Kanga.
the location of a bomb.
It has felt like LFO has been bullying Kanga quite a bit on this map, so Kanga can try and counter that, and that's probably well advised. As you mentioned though, last time Kanga attempted this site, they were pretty much decimated and quite early in the round as well. It's up to them to
10
try and
seconds to
hold
go.
on a little bit longer here. They've made a slight change. This position where no Vakes is
5
over
seconds
towards
remaining.
Sunrise won't be vacated, or will be vacated. Campo
Attackers'
not playing that
objective is to
position.
defuse a bomb.
So it does look like Kanga are making a more conscious effort to try and... No, Campo's playing that position. Okay, well, we'll see how long he can hold it. I thought he wasn't going to play it, but he is.
I don't think he's.
Maybe,
I'm
or is he
sure
baiting
he's
it?
not. Yeah, I think he's baiting
Well, there's
it.
no utility
surely-
covering it, so...
Attackers drop the
Yeah,
diffuser.
there's no way because it's just too easy to be flushed out and also cut off. LFO have read that perfectly. I mean, the window that Mims just shot down. If you're trying to flush somebody out of that corner, all you need to do is sit on that window, and as long as you're covering your teammate from blue bar window or the office run out, that player is trapped. So I think that's smart from Campo not to play it. He's going to play around the bar, which is probably the more traditional area to play as a smoke in this bomb site. LFO making light work of that shield though. They cleared that out straight away. So that's not something that Campo will be able to use
Attackers
later
have
in the
recovered
round.
their diffuser.
Campo playing behind the bar, which will provide some pretty good cover, provided that he isn't taken out from above. He'll have to be mindful of Angmo, probably his #1 target. Playing that sledge above. Mims even could go for it, but he finds a pick. Mims is absolutely popping off at the moment, Raven. 17 and 4. If this man is alive, it's an LFO round win, surely.
Tell you what, something that gets me hot under the collar is a Thatcher that frags, and Mims is fulfilling that with the AR-33 as well, which personally I also love. So this is great. LFO at the moment are just riding on this Mims wave of form, and I am getting pretty fearful for Kanga. Spruce does have something else to say about that, making it a 4 versus 4, but with still over a minute to go, LFO have opportunities to get this round.
Hands up, planted. Surveying.
Mims again will be someone to watch this round because he has the diffuser in his pocket. Potentially preparing for a B plant. Campo could deny. Mims might be aware of that position, sending out a ping. There is a drone there. Does also see a player, I think, at the blue bar rotate. That's a C4! That was a smoke, rather, sorry, and will miss the mark. Mims will push in and will find the kill. That player at the blue bar rotate not holding that entry, and now Mims has site control. Lebino Vegas has something to say about that, though, finding a pick each, and now it is left in a 3-on-2 in favor of Kanga, but Mims will find a triple. Surely this man will be shut down. Gonna have to go for the plant sooner or later, and it looks like now will be the time. Nasty in a position to hold the push from Kanga. Both players have taken damage. Neither of them able to deny the plant. Surely they can win this round, but Nasty's taken down. Mims, though, has a response. That's 4 this round. 1 more for the ace. 1 more for the round win. Leb, his 1 shot. Surely Mims can win this with the ACOG. He swings wide and he hits the shot. Mims with his 2nd ace here on Coastline. The man, it cannot be stopped. And LFO are just bullying Kanga at the moment.
Oh boy, Mims is just having an absolute fire match, and quite rightly, guys, he is on track for what I would say is going to be the highest frag count on a single map by a player. And I just don't know whether he's going to have enough rounds to do so, because they're just streamlining in towards this win. They're only 1 round away.
Oh, let's just watch his back. Oh, Mims. You did it to him. That was absolutely disgusting. Wow. Look, I just hope that I don't start playing ranked now when we just see, like, Thatcher entries get picked off first every round because they've seen Mims do it. And I mean, Mims is yeah, he's gifted. I don't think I've seen an entry Thatcher as efficient as I have tonight. Absolutely popping off. Kanga just literally unable to shut him down. It's already 2 aces. I wonder what the highest ace count is in a map. Have we seen someone get 2 aces yet? I don't think we have. I'm not sure.
I mean, definitely not in... I don't think in 6 Masters we have.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's happened before, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a great performance from him, and LFO in general, I mean, he is the one getting all the frags, but LFO have been playing pretty well as a team. And of course, he's not just getting the frags straight up by himself. That being said, I did see him self-drone to get that opening pick last round. But he has had other people droning around for him, and he's been droning quite a lot himself. So it has been an all-round good effort. Kanga need to dig deep, 3 rounds behind here, and again, now that they are 3-6 down, they have to get 3 perfect rounds to force overtime.
I'm so scared for Leb here. 1-on-1 with Mims early in the round. It's like Mims is trying to hunt down his prey at the moment, and he's just going to drone him again. Mims has done so much droning this map, despite getting so many kills. It's been quite phenomenal to watch. Leb will try and contest it again, falls off. This is such a great battle, but in the meantime, LFO will find 2. They could well take the map this round. It is, of course, match point. LFO looking to try and convert Coastline.
This is again the teamwork from LFO. They were allowing Mims to put that early pressure, but they surrounded the positions in Sunrises to enable them to clear that out. So beautiful stuff there. 2-man advantage right now with lots of time on the board. Going to be a tough fight back here from Kanga. Side is, of course, Hookah and Billiards, though. They haven't made a whole lot of progression towards. They became some map patrol underneath here. Haven't quite identified exactly where the plant's going to come. Most predominantly is over on the aquarium side, though.
More shots raining out. LFO taking their time trying to find an opening. That's an air jab used to cut off the white stairs rotate. That defender will now be forced to go 90. That's Spruce on the Ella. Campo no Vags holding sight. The question is for how long? Just over a minute to go. LFO starting to creep in towards the objective now.
taking their time and making sure that they aren't throwing too much away. And this is great. Practice with patience. I mean, against better teams, you need to be careful not to over-aggress in these situations where you have the man advantage. Spruce just seeing the tip of the head of the player on the window, not getting the shot. But coming into these final
Attackers
30
have dropped the bomb
seconds,
diffuser. Attackers have
LFO look
recovered their
poised to be able to get this plant down.
Nasty attempts to plant once, falls off and baits the C4. That rotate being held by Sogs. As Nasty will need to try and reattempt that. LFO look a little bit stalled out, but they are really just trying to prepare for an explosive execute here. They have the manpower. The question is, when do they go for it? But Sogs will be taken down, Agmo as well, and it's a 3-on-3. That wide swing will be shut down. The plant does go down. Oh, that's a nice bullet hole, and Mims will get a double. Surely he won't get the final kill here. Spruce needs to find 3 in the post plant to keep his team's chances alive here on Coastline, but LFO surely will shut this one down. Spruce finds himself in the gunfight onto heels and will win it. The refrag not quite there on point, but the time is depleting. Spruce on a single shot's worth of HP will be taken down. And of course, who else but Mims to finish the job? LFO, a dominant Coastline, will take the first map tonight.
That was nothing short of what feels like Mims versus Kanga, and coming out on top is Mims. Oh my lord, that was just an insane performance from him. And I mean, you got to say, it's like a solid performance, but his team was there to back him up. 24-4 in the end, guys.
Wow. That is absolutely ridiculous. That averages out to 2.4 kills a round. That's some quick math, which is absolutely insane. And on top of that, he's playing Thatcher. Thatcher's an operator that you would expect, oh yeah, if he doesn't get too many kills, you know, he's doing his job, right? He's taking out utility. Mims, he was taking out utility, he was droning, and he was clicking heads. Absolutely insane. And LFO just bullied Kanga into the ground at the end.
They really did. Kanga had moments and glimpses of looking like they might be able to pull something out of the bag, but they just were never able to shut down Mims. LFO in general, I mean, a lot of that previous round, what set up the plant was some fantastic teamwork from LFO. So of course, we're going to talk a lot about Mims, but let's not take away too much from his teammates and the way that they played. And that was Kanga's map pick as well. So I think LFO are really looking good here to take both maps tonight, which is what they need to stay in that playoffs chase.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a feels bad for Kanga. It was really the one opportunity they had, or the biggest opportunity they had, to try and get one map win this entire season, and now they're left to LFO's map pick. And based off that performance, if Mims stays red hot and the rest of his team back him up, they're going to be unstoppable, surely.
I mean, the momentum that would have been coming out of that game, you can only imagine what they were saying in comms and the vibe of them in general right now. That's really going to pump them up coming into this next map. So I do fear for Kanga.
Well, that's map 1 done. Coastline going in favor, 7-3 to LFO. We'll see you on the other side of the break for map number 2.
Seconds left. Attackers are active. Defenders have located the
Please hold. Your call is very important to us. All operators are busy at this time.
Chasing love in an empty bar. Pour a drink till I make it past. The midnight hour seems to come and go, but I know. Walk on up with a drink in hand, sipping mixers cause you can. And all the lights begin to switch off. You're chasing the light, holding on for life, feeling the high, chasing the light, chasing the night, chasing the night, chasing the night, holding on for holding on for life, feeding the high, chasing the night, chasing the night. Hotel rooms and city squares, champagne bottles, drum and snare. The sights and cities seem to fall away when you stay. Locked in love for a night or two, losing sleep just to get.
G'day folks and welcome back from the break. We're here for Mims take on Kanga. Raven, what did we just see? Coastline was insane.
It was insane. An outstanding performance from Mims, by far the best individual performance we've seen from anybody in Six Masters so far. A double ace, 24 and 4, I believe it was. And I mean, on top of that, he got to that level in only 10 rounds, which is a lot quicker than the previous, which was Ethan getting 23 kills over, it was like a full regulation match.
And I mean, on top of that, he was also playing Thatcher, which is just mind-blowing. With the AR-33 as well, probably one of the most unorthodox playstyles you could come to imagine, particularly in the competitive scene. He owned it. Kanga just got decimated. They could not win a gunfight. I think the only gunfight I can really remember them winning that we saw was when they had two people peeking him, and he still killed one of them. That's how insane Mims was then. He was literally just T-hunting. Like, he was just running around and clicking heads.
Yeah, he had just a stellar performance, and I'm keen to see whether he can back it up on map 2, whether he keeps that momentum rolling, whether LFO keep that momentum rolling, because let's bring it back to the stakes here. They need to win both of these maps tonight to ensure that they still get that opportunity for playoffs.
Well, let's have a quick recap of the poll vote and see how many of you folks at home have already been knocked out, and it will be 35%. Sorry to the Kanga fans, but I mean, yeah, that LFO win is looking more and more alluring, I think. But with that said, let's go back to the stakes. Kanga still haven't won a single map in this entire season. So this is their last opportunity. I'm sure they'll be throwing everything they have to try and get one map win and salvage something from what's been a pretty disastrous season.
Yeah, they really are going to be chasing their only W now. This is their final opportunity, and it is Cafe, right? And it's LFO's map pick, but Kanga have had some good performances on this map against a team like Okami, for example.
It's Cafe. Let's jump straight into the action. It's Kanga's final opportunity to win a map in Six Masters 2020. LFO must be flawless. This one should be another banger.
It should be, and I just want to see some Kanga Siege that looks clean and gets them the win, to be honest, because I just want them to not go through a whole season without that win. Thatcher banned by LFO, in fact, so they're weakening their own teammate by getting rid of Thatcher, basically. See what Mims decides to play instead.
They're handicapping themselves. They went, hey, you know, Mims is a little bit too good in that last map. We don't want Kanga, you know, being absolutely stomped. Give them a small chance. I mean, Thatcher pretty traditional Havana as well, so nothing too crazy popping out just yet.
Great bans for Cafe. Of course, the Habana ban in particular is a good hard breacher ban because it requires you to now get up close and personal with those walls. The best example is that backstore wall that everyone tries to open on the bar cocktail attack. You now have to either Maverick or Thermite that, which means you will be placing your charge or blowtorching right up against it. It's highly counterable and it's a little bit more risky. Requires good map control. So I really like the Habana ban here from Kanga.
Mira and Valkyrie will round out the defensive bans. Try and minimize some of the intel that can be gathered. Quite excited to jump into this one. Kanga probably not really feeling too much pressure. Yes, it would be nice to win a map, but it's not going to change their standing. They will unfortunately finish last here in Six Masters regardless of this result. But they definitely will want to spoil the party, I think. As
Yes, they
head
will,
to
and-
our beautiful faces. Hello. We are
Just
back.
because you guys, were craving it.
Yeah, we went on screen long enough before, so we're back.
Look, I think while Kanga don't have any pressure and they can't change their standings, no matter what, they're a competitive team. They want to get this win, not just because it's a win. It could be their only win in Six Masters. They don't want a season of what feels like nothing to them. So I think they're going to fight tooth and nail for this, which is, again, a dangerous position for LFO to be in, seeing as the stakes for them is win or you don't make playoffs.
And I mean, even if LFO do manage to win this next map, they still have another playday, right? Because they had a rescheduled match. They'll be taking on Ferox Thursday night, and they need to produce another 2 dubs if they want to be a chance to make the playoffs. And even then, I don't think it's at all confirmed, depending on sort of how the other results shape up. So LFO, they hopefully win this map for them. Then they get 1 day break, and then they've got to back that up. I don't think we can really sort of understate how like stressful and tiring that can really be. 4 comp games, 4 comp maps in the space of 3 days. That's going to take a toll, and that's going to be pretty rough.
It's a complex web of maths to figure out exactly how these playoffs are going to end up. And if LFO do win this map, boy, that match against Ferox on Thursday is going to be a fantastic game because Ferox are also in the same position, basically, where they need to be perfect so that they can make playoffs. So it'd be 2 high stakes positions there fighting it out. And I think that just really summarizes our week of Six Masters.
I guess we can sort of theorize a little bit. Let's say in a theoretical world, LFO managed to win this next map, then they double win against Ferox, everything falls in line, and they actually make it to the playoffs. They just sneak in. Like, what can we expect? Because I think heading into the sort of the online season here, many of us thought that LFO were probably going to finish last or second last around there and struggle. But they put up a good fight. They played pretty well. If they make the playoffs, are they sort of any chance to actually go all the way? Or is the lack of experience maybe going to come back to bite them?
I think even in playoffs, they'll always be probably looked at like that dark horse, but they've proven in the regular season they can take maps off these top teams. Wildcard, Okami, Elevate, were their 3 victims really at the start of the season. So it depends where they finish up in playoffs and it depends how the top 4 play out. It could be LFO versus Wildcard as one of the first matches for playoffs there. And like I just said, they did take a map off Wildcard. So I think it's hard to write them off no matter where they end up.
And I guess that's where that sort of makes the LFO's current situation a little bit perplexing because they are sitting 7th heading into tonight, despite taking maps off some of these teams. A lot of those best of 2 series end up being draws. So they're just struggling, I think, to bring enough to take it over the line. And I don't have on me how many of those map wins they won were their pick or their opponent's pick. But maybe this format has exposed a couple of holes maybe in their map pool and they haven't quite had enough to take it over the line. It's a little bit hard to say, of course. We're just theorizing here, but maybe LFO just haven't quite had enough to get those wins. And there's been a lot of draws so far across all the teams, but LFO's really stood out to be one that's had a lot.
Yeah, and they showed a lot of strengths on Clubhouse, and something that happens when you show strength on a particular map early is it just gets banned against you. And that's what they are seeing a lot of, and that is what the case will probably be if they do make playoffs. So they will have to broaden that map pool. We've seen them do pretty well on some other maps. I'm just going to quickly look at their results here. They had a big win on Villa against Okami, which is actually the only time we've seen them play Villa, which is a little bit surprising because Okami are no pushover on Villa in general. So for them to actually take that map off them, I think warrants that to be a map to play more. Maybe that is one they're saving in the pocket for a bit later if the occasion calls for it.
And I mean, talking about other maps that they're pretty proficient on, or maps that they've played often, Cafe is definitely one of those, which we will be heading back into shortly. But again, they've just lacked the consistency. I mean, they've beaten Pittsburgh Knights 7-5, but then most recently, when they took on Sinister, they got smashed 2-7. They did not really stand a chance. And again, that's just a bit of a red flag that they're not bringing enough to the table and enough to sort of outdo some of the teams that are maybe reading into their playstyle.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They are a newer team to this level. So this is the kind of thing that experience will develop and bring out from them. So if they make playoffs, they'll have some time to work on maps and try and expand it a little bit and bring out some surprises. And of course, that is the great thing about once you make playoffs, you've got a little while before you actually have to play them. It's not instantly, and that does add in some variables.
And of course, it's important to keep in mind that LFO stands for looking for organization. These guys don't have an org representing them, so that as well has its added challenges, and it means that maybe they don't have as much support as some of the other teams, but it does look like they're persisting through that. Hopefully they get some representation soon, and then they can invest even more time into the game, and I think that they'll really thrive into a strong team because they are showing potential at the moment.
Absolutely, and even if they don't make playoffs, I mean, they've made a strong case for the fact that they are an up-and-coming, rising team here in ANZ. So why not take that opportunity to help them grow to be a bigger contender?
Yeah, well, we've pumped up LFO a little bit. Let's talk about Kanga, a little bit of the... yeah, they just had a rough season, haven't they? I mean, not really... I mean, you could say they've had consistency, really, because they've lost every map. Or that sounds so bad to say, but it just... I don't know. It's really hard, I think, to pinpoint what's going wrong. So it must really be a combination of a lot of things. Noveix has really brought a breath of fresh air into that team, but it hasn't proven really to be enough just yet.
Yeah, I really just think they need more time when the pressure is off a bit to be able to really work on what's going wrong and actually have some development. Sometimes playing through it in tournaments like this can help, but sometimes it can really be the opposite. I think that's the case for Kanga, where it's just not enabled them to have the peace of mind and being able to step back and see the big picture and help fix things, because they've just been neck deep in 6 Masters. So once this is all over, they will have that opportunity, and I think going into whatever they compete in next will be the real telling sign for what is on the course for this team.
And I mean, it's important to remember, if you at home don't really have a lot of knowledge on Kanga's history, they used to be pretty strong, but that was back when they had Pat and they had Worthy. And once those two players left, that has left a little bit of a gap in that team, and they're still yet to recover from that. Those holes, those positions haven't been filled, and it really has showed.
It has, and I reckon if you told people that Kanga had a draw with Fnatic in Pro League Season 11 very recently, most people would think you're lying to them. So things have changed dramatically for Kanga, and this is an opportunity for them to change things dramatically yet again. Starting on Cafe, on defense is Kanga.
Yep, the sides have been switched. Kanga heading
Defenders,
to
protect your bombs from being
the top floor
defused by
first.
attackers.
Bring the Omega combo from Iron Jaeger. Some projectile denial to try and slow down this push. Expect Kanga to stronghold Pixel, and could even see a shield set up over towards Cocktail Balcony as well. Kanga is a team that has brought some interesting stuff to the table in terms of setup and strategy on this map, and look, maybe tonight will be no exception.
Might just be that exception. Spruce there on the pulse, which we've seen him play quite a lot of aggressively and also getting great intel.
5 seconds to
Nothing
insertion.
too dramatic out of either of these lineups. LFO opting to go for the Maverick though instead of the
Objective is
Thermite
to defuse a bomb.
or Hard Breach. Means it will require just that little bit of extra time to open walls with a Maverick trick. But risk is going to be heavily involved in that.
Spruce gaining early intel. C4 is prepared by Noveix, and he'll be able to throw that out whilst an attacker is stuck in the repel animation entering on the roof. It's going to be a big pick for Kanga early in the round if they time it. The C4 goes out. Will it find its mark? I don't think it has. Spruce considers throwing a second, but thinks better of it. And
Attackers have located a bomb.
LFO will now gain control of the roof.
You know, I'm pretty sure Mims shot that in midair. So
Wouldn't surprise me. Would not surprise me.
yeah, still sharp. That would tell me. These mute jammers are going to be a bit of a pain there. No Thatcher on the Mims, so they're going to have to deal with that with an explosive or just shoot it from the other hatch is probably a bit easier. These drones will finally get through. Did delay just a touch of time there with that C4 because it meant that extra droning was needed to ensure they were safe near the hatch. Slows them down slightly, getting towards Piano, which is, of course, the all-important map control you need for attacking Far Clock Tower.
Some aggressive positions being held here by Kanga. Also a player on the bottom floor. Not sure who that is for Kanga. It's actually Spruce on Pulse. Hills is taken out though by Leb. Does give Kanga the early man advantage. Decent control by LFO. Could be difficult to convert that onto site.
They're just playing very patiently, which they have not necessarily always done in the past. So now great holes here that enable LFO to get a lot happening. This torch is going to come out so that they can get some angles into backstore. Looks like it's not going to be fully open, it's more just line of sight here. This means that Kanga can't comfortably rotate through at least to deny the plant or cover the plant.
I'm waiting for Spruce to pop his head up somewhere on this rotate because that could be very, very dangerous. He's still playing below. Does have a C4 for denial as well. With only 30 seconds left on the board, that could pose a big dent in LFO's push here, even if they get in a position to plant. Surely Spruce will be able to deny it from below. Mims sends out some Captain bolts, and surely that plant is going down soon, but they are being stalled out. Nasty. Will attempt it. C4 comes out. Spruce will surely connect this. No, he doesn't. He just misses. And the plant goes down. That's massive for LFO. And now they need to hold the post plant. It's a 4 versus 5.
Oof, that's some really unfortunate placement there from Spruce. That could have changed everything. This retake is going to be quite tricky given the control that LFO have. Angmo's on the skylight, which is super critical to holding his post plant. Mims is still alive. Means that it's going to be tough for Kanga. Only 20 seconds to go now, guys. It's going to be pretty tough, and LFO do close out that first round, which means they're going to maintain their momentum from map 1.
That C4 missing its mark by a couple of inches will inevitably cost Kanga a round that could have been theirs, and LFO will continue on their momentum from map 1. Of course, LFO cannot afford to drop a single map from here on out. Kanga on the other end, on the other hand rather. And they're still looking for their first map win. That first round, probably not the best way to start things off. There's still a long way to go.
Really came down to that missed C4. I mean, Kanga had done a great job of being patient and allowing LFO to push in. I mean, they did give them a lot of map control, a bit too quick there, such as the Piano. But if that C4 hit the mark, that round really could have changed. So really just unfortunate placement there from Spruce. LFO are really on the hunt here. It was a strong attacking start from them.
Kitchen, of course, will be the second site. Sometimes teams will opt to go to reading second, but Kanga seemingly comfortable playing inside of Kitchen. Probably expecting them to play quite fluidly here and maybe try and retain above control. There are some barricades going up, in fact. Kanga maybe looking to try and slow down this attack. Led, definitely someone to watch this round. I know for sure that he's been doing a lot of off-site roaming, particularly on Cafe. Normally playing the likes of Jaeger, but on this occasion it will be Mozzie.
Bomb located by attackers.
And I guess on the topic of Jaeger, Kanga actually electing not to bring a single projectile denial, despite bringing both Jaeger and Wamai in the previous round.
And on the topic of Leb too, I mean, he's had a pretty good season for Kanga considering how they've played. He's had probably some of the more consistent performances on that roster. And on Cafe, he's had some great matches. That Okami one in particular, he had a huge clutch to force overtime. So definitely keep an eye out for him. As LFO progressed straight in through here. Again, this is probably the side effect of not having that projectile denial that you were talking about. It meant that they could easily clear Bakery and just push straight through. Nobody was playing there, but it wouldn't have been too much effort for them. And I think that's a critical area here because Nasty's going to be able to make this hole so quick. They're going to have half the round to be able to deal with this plant.
Hills will get the first pick through that hole. That's Campo, who has been shut down. Poor start here for Kanga, as Nasty will now maverick the bottom of the wall. Reinforcement taken off. Wall will be opened, in fact, by Boats with the C4. It nets him 1 kill and a second. That's a big play from Boats. Off the back of that wall being opened by Nasty. The refrag not there from LFO, and that's a pretty sloppy way to convert some control on towards side.
Is just not watching that two-way hole. Spruce gets a knife kill onto Sogs, probably not even watching anything at all. And this angle from this Maestro, what is that? That's just nasty. Novakes is the one responsible for that. He does know exactly where this player is from LFO. Shots coming out. Angmo does get one, makes it a 3 versus 2. A little bit more possible here. Actually, that's a 2 versus 2, guys. Definitely doable for LFO with 50 seconds to go.
Boats with some ants in his pants, over peaking, will be taken down.
The diffuser.
As you mentioned, it's a 2v2. Mims on the board as well, so this is very, very dangerous for Kanga. That unorthodox shield position could pose some problems, but Mims gets his double. And now it's left all up to that Maestro. Mims in a one-on-one. Pre-fires the angle, hits the shot, and Mims! This man is an absolute machine. It's Mims' take on Kanga, and again, Mims will come out on top.
Just shows that it doesn't matter who you kill on LFO. If Mims is still up, then they are still in this game. I am just shaking my head. I can't believe the performance that he's putting in so far is just astounding. And now LFO are up 2-0 on their attack half. They're looking pretty good. That was close for Kanga. They had a solid man advantage. I think it was 4 versus 2 at one stage there. Wow, LFO just dug deep and brought it back.
I want to know what Mims had for breakfast. That man is untouchable at the moment. Absolutely ridiculous. He should not have won that by any stretch. But he did, and LFO will now have the 2-0 lead. Momentum well and truly in their favour. Still continuing on that streak from Coastline. It's effectively 4 rounds straight for them in the series, and Kanga not really getting a look in at the moment.
I know it's only 2 rounds, but Mims hasn't even died on this map. Like, I don't know, man. See whether he can continue this this effort, and not only this map, but of course if LFO continue to form here, they'll get the 2 wins they need. They will face Ferox on Thursday, so I'm keen to see whether Mims and LFO can back this up continuously to secure that playoff spot. Really is going to be a sight to see.
Attackers must locate and defuse the bomb.
Kanga investing some utility in Cocktail that will try to prevent LFO from gaining vertical control. Boats is there to provide some ADS devices, and Leb playing Goyo will offer some protection with those Vulcan shields. Campo as well with some new jammers, so the prep is there for Kanga. The question is, will LFO be able to derail this round like they've derailed so many others?
A bomb has been located.
Kanga's going to need to hold tight there into Cocktail. Really, really important map control for this objective. I think LFO make light work of entry in towards Cigar. Lots of drones going in through Bar, which means that Kanga are soon going to be under a bit of pressure there. Mims on the Capital, I mean, not only is that a great fragging operator, just the utility usage is so lethal, so dangerous. The way it can be used. Haven't seen a whole lot of effect from that yet, but it's something that Kanga will have to keep an eye on. And maybe they should be picking more Wamai if they identify that Capital is a high pick rate right now for LFO.
Mims looking to try and get that first pick. Of course, went absolutely massive on Coastline. He missed it. Managed to get 2 aces over the course of what was a pretty short game in the end, only 10 rounds. Hangman, meanwhile, he's trying to pressure from the other side. He's on the eastern side here as Leb will find that pick, but LFO will use that as a trigger to now push forward. Nasty as well has the blowtorch to create some additional angles, but he himself will be taken off the board. Campo from below gets that C4 kill. And with a minute left, LFO looking like they might not win this round. Another C4. Does create a vertical hole. Shots rain out from Mims, but he doesn't find that pick. This is, I must say, this is still a little bit scary. Mims on the board, Sogs as well, roaming around. I wouldn't put it past them to maybe win this round.
Yep, it's not over till it's over, so we'll see what they can do. 40 seconds to go. Mims still alive. I think that's a pretty important thing to point out at this stage. Alright, just getting some great intel here into what positions are being played on site. Mims does light up another through the rafters. Not able to get the pick though, and all of a sudden the time has whittled away. Really going to be tough for them to be able to get this plant down.
Mims really struggling here. Sogs being lit up by that Vulcan shield as well. Mims falls off the balcony. Has to spray down the barricade. His position revealed. There's a player above, and surely even Mims won't be able to win this one. He doesn't. Kanga will take around number 3.
Much better there from Kanga. Beautiful team play from below, just denying vertically the push across in bar from LFO. That worked out as best as it could have, really. Brought it down to that 5 versus 2, and it's never looked any different. Is Kanga going to rotate back to Kitchen, which we saw very close. It was that 1v1 that Mims did win in round number 2.
Of course, keep in mind, last time Kanga defended this site, they didn't bring a Jaeger or a Mai for that matter. And they're actually going to bring both this round. So we might see Kanga be a little bit more aggressive here inside of Bakery. LFO on the last occasion gained control of that site, or that part of the map, rather quite quickly, quite swiftly. And then were able to eventually, albeit very closely, convert that to some site presence. Quite enthralling to see if Kanga actually get quite aggressive inside of Bakery, but they have actually reinforced off the common rotate, so maybe they'll play a bit more default in towards site.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Here having a bit of a run upstairs yet again. Use those pests to try and slow down the clear from LFO, but they didn't really buy into it too much. I mean, a lot of their push last time was horizontally through Bakery. And that was a massive side effect of the fact they had 0 presence there. Nothing to deny projectiles, nobody actually playing there just to deny space for a little while. So in order for what Leb's doing right now to work, they need that presence.
Leb and Spruce again, the 2 members for Kanga playing off-site. LFO may need to clear them as Hills on the sledge will likely try to get presence above. In fact, he's going all the way to the roof alongside Sogs, so we could see a full top-down clear here from LFO.
Where those pests are going to be helpful from Leb. They could potentially deny either a drone completely or just
Bomb located by
create a new
attackers.
path for that drone to take. And it might burn some time, it might not. LFO definitely taking longer at least to obtain map control and put more pressure onto Kanga at this stage compared to the last time we saw them attack Kitchen.
That round timer quickly ticking down. Almost edging towards the halfway point of this action phase, and in the real control that LFO have is the top floor. Actually, they do have nice control inside Bakery. Couldn't quite tell if the wall was soft. I think it may be. Yes, it definitely is. Spruce meanwhile gets Sogs. So Kanga do have the man advantage.
This is finally going to open up an actual rotatable hole there A little bit risky is the sledge being already soft, and there's a lot of Kanga players looking at it. They have managed to get it done, and now there's a lot of presence here from LFO in this bakery prep area. They're worried about holes above, no one actually playing there at this stage. In the final minute mark here, they don't have enough control there to flush out these Kanga positions. There's a lot of chance of denial here on the end of Kanga. Could be a pretty tough finish here for LFO.
That deep shield as well, causing a lot of issues as they can't clear it. Cavitaire bolts will come out and actually shut down that angle. That's a pretty good play. It is countered though by gas canister, forcing them through prep. LFO now need to try and get the plant down with 30 seconds left. Heals above to try and cover. There's gas grenades continuing to cause problems here. Nasty pushes deep though. Still being lit up by yet another gas grenade. That's perfectly played denial by Kanga. As Campo secures that kill, and it's now left in a 3-on-5. Spruce finds one as well, and surely Kanga will be able to close out this round. They have all the intel, all of the utility, and LFO don't have the time. The diffuser is collected, and Angmo will try to stick it on a slither of HP. Mims left to cover it. Surely he won't win, and he won't. Leb will swing the angle and get the kill. In fact, actually, maybe he was above. I am not entirely sure.
Either way, LFO lose that round. Kanga, that's 2 in a row for them now. We've got a game, guys. They evened it out. They looked like they were just out of it in those first 2 rounds, but this has looked pretty good. That last one in particular was beautifully played by Kanga. Nice and patient on site, and even the roamers never really overextended. So this is looking a little tough here for LFO, and again, they need to win this map.
I really like that shield setup that Kanga have had deep in towards Freezer, or near in front of the Freezer. LFO were aware of it, but didn't really do a great job in trying to clear it or nullify that angle. I mean, we did see smoke grenades late in the round from the Cavitaire bolt. But I mean, it just wasn't quite enough, and LFO, with a lack of time and a lack of resources, really struggled to get that plant down successfully. I felt so sorry for Nasty. He tried to plant it what felt like 2 or 3 times, and every single one of those he was met by gas grenades. That was really rough for him. Definitely do have a match in our hands now though, and this is where the pressure starts to mount for LFO, isn't it? Because they can't afford to lose a map. The more rounds that slip away, the closer that becomes a reality.
That's exactly right, and it's going to start coming back into their minds. I mean, when you've got momentum and you're rolling, you feel like you're ahead in the game, you don't think about that as much. But when it starts to feel like your opponent is getting the top of you, you start to think about the stakes again. You start thinking, boys, if we lose this, we're not going to make playoffs. And that can go 2 ways. That can motivate a team, but sometimes that can just be what buries you. So we're going to find that out with LFO in this map right now, because Kanga are fighting back. And if LFO roll over, then their playoffs chances are done.
Bomb has been located.
LFO looking to try and find some early ground. Mims enters below quite aggressively. Leb there to greet him potentially later in the round. He's playing inside of reading. This could be an early engagement. Both players seemingly aware that the other is there. Based on Mims' form, you definitely have to back him into this gunfight if it does ensue. Mims is trying to gain control of reading so that he can get vertical. If Novegas comes to assist, Mims could find himself in a little bit of trouble here.
Leb's definitely getting himself a little trapped here. His drone causing a lot of problems. Very much been spotted out, but hey, he's burned a lot of time. Down to a minute 30 mark. They haven't been able to do anything with that information. Mims is patiently holding this angle. Leb crosses past it. Not punished just yet. This could end up being, again, some big pressure adding onto LFO.
Oh, Mims. He gets shut down by Campo from above. Slugs are unable to find Leb yet below. This round is really looking like it's going to be Kangas at the moment. LFO, only a minute on the board and not a lot to work with. They are getting this wall open, or at least attempting to. But even that's proving quite difficult. LFO could find themselves having to filter in towards site in the final 45 seconds.
I think they're just looking for line of sight there through that backstore wall, but regardless, wherever they're trying to push for this plant is just not looking good and not looking clean at least. They've made a small little rotate hole there right next to the trash bags or the drink serving trolley. Maybe that's where they're going to get the plant down, but there's still so much denial available for Kanga. Lots of bodies up. LFO going for this plant. They've got to try and stick this. The gas comes out. Not going to deny in time, in fact, guys. Plant goes down.
Nasty will die eventually. Oh, Hills gets taken down. Campo, he's found himself a quad this round and he could well defuse the bomb. Where's Angmo? That's the question. He's actually above. This could be absolutely massive if Angmo can deny the plant. He pre-fires the angle and gets the kill. Angmo surely can win this. This is such a hard spot to clear. No one can get on the roof. Angmo can just sit here and quick peek, and he finds one more. That's the double kill. And now Boats needs to try and find the pick, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Angmo will surely be able to hold on to this round. And Kanga, they were so close to being able to bring this one back. But Angmo from the Skylight will spoil the party. He gets taken down, but it doesn't mean anything. LFO will take the round by disarming the bomb.
Oh, and Kanga had everything there to be able to win that round. So much denial. They had 5 players alive and only one of them had a flicker of health taken off them. Yet they could not deny that plant in time. That gas grenade just not coming quick enough. That is unfortunate for Kanga, but the victors will always capitalize on those mistakes, and that is LFO at this stage. Coming into the last round of the half, guys, LFO could be looking at a 4-2 advantage again in this first half, which definitely sets them poised to take the map.
Look, I'm just happy that we finally saw an attacker hold that plant from the Skylight on Cafe. There have been a couple of occasions so far this season in 6 Masters where teams have gotten the plant down. No one's been on the Skylight and then the site's been retaken. So, very well played there by LFO. A little bit sketch, but Agmo played that incredibly well at the end there and was able to waste a lot of time. Moving on though, it's time for the final round of the half. I mean, if Kanga win this round, it would make for a very spicy second half.
I think it's a bit of a different story to Coastline as well. Kanga aren't playing terribly on Cafe. In fact, I really feel like they're playing better here on Cafe than they are on Coastline, or did on Coastline, I should say. LFO just managed to be getting these rounds. I mean, Mim's got that 1v1 clutch in round number 2 on Kitchen. And there was just a couple of windows where Kanga should have had that last round, but it just slipped away. Failure to secure those rounds with the advantage is costing Kanga right now.
Again, we're going to see Kanga holding Cocktail to try and delay time and force LFO to expend utility. It does appear as if LFO will play into that and head to the top floor as many teams normally would. Try and gain some map control.
Bomb located by attackers.
Not taking too much time here to take Piano, which is
Device ready.
a great start from LFO. Last time they really struggled to take across Bar and towards Cocktail. You might remember some fantastic vertical team play from Kanga. Getting C4 kills and a couple of shots through the rafters just really dismantled LFO. See what they've got up their sleeve to be able to counter that this time.
Sog sends out a grenade towards White Stairs, but that doesn't really find its target. Mims is playing IQ from above, trying to work out where some of this utility has been placed. Again, time is working against the attackers, as it so often is. Halfway point in the round has been passed, and LFO need to try and convert some control above, try and pressure in towards side. Boats has been flushed out. Well played there by LFO, but the wide swing picks up one, led with the C4, finds another. Hills super low from that as well. And now it's a 3-on-5.
Again, great play from Kanga, some good teamwork there to secure that double kill. And LFO have taken across now to Cocktail. There's about a minute to go. can start to put a bit of pressure on side, but you can see Kanga have actually rotated generally away from these holes now. They're not going to be trying to contest those, and that means that LFO are going to be spending a lot of time to drone it out, try and get some picks through the holes, get some form of site control. It's not going to leave them much time at all for a plant. Heals looks like he's about to be in engagement, but he hasn't got much health. And actually, he's just going to die. Boats sneaks up on him from the bottom of white. 5 versus 2 guys, 30 seconds. It's not looking too good for LFO on this round.
Oh, that's a C4. Sogs will be downed, and now it's Nasty left in a 1-on-5. We've seen a couple of aces so far this evening, but this one is looking quite unlikely. He will actually end up picking up Sogs, so it's a 2-on-5. But again, this round surely is Kanga's. The diffuser is dropped. Campo with the final kill, and it's flawless for Kanga to end out the half. This one is looking like it's going to be incredibly close. I'm not sure what Campo's shooting there, but he definitely saw him.
I agree. This looks like it is going to be a close finish. Kanga are actually playing quite well. LFO, they really lacked adaptation in that round, man. Like, it felt so much like the first reading dining that we saw from Kanga, which was in round 3, where they just got all those kills from vertical and great pressure from white stairs. It was basically the same. LFO didn't add a lot of additional pressure onto those positions to enable them to get more success. So I think if Kanga can keep this up through their attack half, oh boy, that's going to be a lot of pressure on the LFO, and they're really in for a fight.
Definitely think Kanga have read into the kitchen site choice here, because Spruce actually 6-picked off Buck onto Sledge. Buck often picked when trying to clear out Cocktail, for example, if they are defending the 3rd floor or even extending whilst holding the 2nd. Potentially Spruce has read into that. Jumped onto the Sledge, which will, of course, give him grenades alongside the Sledgehammer. Make him quite dangerous from above if LFO aren't holding that.
10 seconds left.
This site for Kanga was actually their...
5 seconds to go.
Well, it's 50-50 for them. They held it twice. And they almost won it on that first one. That was the Mims 1v1 clutch. So we'll see whether it's a more successful one for LFO. See how they are planning to hold. They also look like they're really not putting a lot of pressure into Bakery. Oh no, that's not correct actually. Angmo is going to be playing in there. They've got to rotate through that Bakery wall. So that means they are looking to hold us a little more aggressively, and that castle does facilitate that.
Nasty on the castle, of course, using that operator in particular to help shut down any angles in towards site, and that's going to be critical late round. Early round, though, it looks like Kanga are going to go for a full top-down take. That's in contrast to how we saw LFO try to take site from Bakery. We haven't quite seen this approach so far this evening, and I guess Kanga will either hero it or show us why they shouldn't have attempted it.
Dan Clear is taking a bit of time here, but Kanga have made their way to the 2nd floor, which has no presence from LFO at this stage. So they can try and do some vertical pressure here, which will probably be Spruce on this Sledge. So we see him move towards mining. Looks like is exactly what his plan's going to be, but LFO are looking to contest that. That pre-fire almost
Imagine that
mark.
hit. Could you imagine being Spruce
That would be tilting.
and then being hit by that? Oh, and a C4. Oh my. Spruce is dancing on his tiptoes at the moment, trying not to be hit by anything at the moment. Does scathe away in the meantime, but that was looking a little bit sketch. Grenade will be sent out and find to pick onto Hills, who was already low. So that's a great start for Kanga, but I mean, Raven, we only have a minute left. This round going by quite quickly.
That's the thing about that top-down clear. It does take quite a lot of time to obtain some good map control. Really relies on you getting these picks vertically. So Spruce has found one. He's cut this rotated Bakery. This should be another easy kill, so to speak, for Kanga. This nade could be what ends it, but no, that magnet catches it. So it still survives, but he is pinched, and out of nowhere, Kanga are looking poised to take this round, guys.
I mean, the only pick for Kanga so far was actually a team kill. No Vagues popping Camper in the back of the head. Moving it all up to Mims now in a 1v4. If there's one player you want left on your team for this scenario, it's Mims. But even this is looking quite challenging, and he can't even get the first pick. Novakes with the ACOG will outduel him, and Kanga will successfully take their first attack.
Again, that pressure has to be creeping up on LFO. And now down on the scoreline. Kanga are continuing to fight, and LFO are looking to weaken a bit. They really crumbled in that round, and let's not forget, the final round that we saw from Kanga's defense was also flawless. So in the last 2 rounds, we haven't really seen a kill from LFO. Because the only death on Kanga just then was a team kill, right?
Yep. Wow. Of course, LFO, the more rounds they let slip, the closer they are to losing a map. And if they lose a map, they pretty much can't make the playoffs. They can't make the top 4 heading into tonight. They're 7th. They're a long way off. They need to be winning every single map to be a chance. Losing to Kanga here, that's their season done. And they'd be losing to the team that hasn't won a map yet. They definitely don't want to be in that position, and that's why that pressure is starting to creep in. I think they need to try and find some comfort in the fact that they're on Cafe defense. Surely they can muster something here. Try and get a couple rounds under their belt. Try and close this one out before that disaster scenario occurs.
5 seconds left.
As we've been saying, on the flip side, Kanga, they're searching for their only map win in 6 Masters. They're not playing for playoffs, they're playing for pride, so to speak. But they also have the opportunity to really mess up the playoff run for any team ahead of them. And that just so happens to be LFO. And when you don't have much to lose, that can be really dangerous to play against. On top of that, LFO look like they haven't changed up a massive amount with this defense. Just a little bit more presence off-site is probably the main factor here.
Maybe trying to nullify any of that vertical control that will come out from Kanga. Not really too many members sitting directly on site. Heels on the top floor, definitely someone to watch. He's a player. It does have a history of popping off, but so far in Cafe, he's currently going 2 and 7, having a little bit of a struggle. If he can go big this round and gain some momentum, this could be massive for him and his team. He may be missed drone, but no, the drone flicks. His position revealed. Hills will make his way down the hatch. That almost ended poorly, but in the end it does. Campo is there to shut down that rotate, and that's massive. He finds another as well on the rotate. What are LFO doing? They're falling apart. Campo finds the double, and they're on the back foot now, heading into the rest of this round.
They're just getting lost in this pursuit of making something happen. Sometimes that's just not what you need to do. In the pursuit of making something happen, sometimes you're just throwing it away. And that was just a little over-aggressive, I'd say, from LFO. We could be talking about it completely differently, though, right? Like, if Hills actually got the kill onto Leb, it might have worked out a bit different. But at the end of the day, even the extra aggression there from Sogs just to try and re-peek straight away into reading really didn't work out. To be down 2 men with a minute to go under this pressure, I think that's a tough position to be for LFO.
Minute left on the board. Spruce from above tries to find a pick, but will miss. Novakes does have the diffuser. He's rotating towards Freezer. He, of course, is playing Thermite, and he'll be able to use an exothermic charge on that Freezer ball, gain an additional entry point. No one will be contesting that, and he finds the opening. Mims is there ready with the bullet holes to spray them down, and that's a gunfight, but Novakes doesn't die. Mims does eventually die, though, to Campo, who finds he's triple for the round, and Angmo's now in a powerful position to flank, but it could be too late. Nasty holds on for one. Flashes are being sent out, and he won't be blinded.
15 seconds left.
Tries to peek for a second. Angmo finds one, and maybe LFO can bring this back, but the entry from Novakes is strong, and now Angmo is left in a 1-on-3, but Kanga will shut him down.
3 rounds consecutively in the bank of Kanga means that they are up a solid advantage now. 5-3 is the scoreline. 2 rounds away for Kanga, not only for getting their first and only dub in Six Masters. But 2 rounds away for Kanga to be putting the nail in the coffin of LFO's playoff chances.
Man. Starting to feel a bit bad now for writing Kanga off completely on this second map. Because of course, keep in mind, this is LFO's map pick. You would expect them to be even stronger on this map than they were on Coastline. But that hasn't been the case so far. Still a long way to go though.
Attackers need to locate.
I'm gonna need to find 2 more rounds consecutively to take the map. I mean, if that's the case, we could well see a reverse sweep 7-3 in favor of Kanga. But
Attackers have located a bomb.
I don't know, I'm waiting for something to click here from LFO. Hasn't quite been working for them yet, but I'm sure if they can get this round convincingly, then the cogs will start turning and should be able to change their fortune.
See what they can do. They're in a difficult position here.
10
In the
seconds left.
middle of difficulty lies opportunity, and this is their chance. I mean, you want to talk about opportunity.
5 seconds
They
left.
have an opportunity to make playoffs of Six Masters. As the team that came through Open Quad,
Is to defuse the bomb.
this is the time to step up. I had a great first map, and right now I'm just seeing them struggle to adapt to Kanga, and they're letting Kanga play their game, which I mean we haven't seen a lot of in the entire season. So really big pressure here on LFO.
And I mean, time and time again throughout the season when Kanga has looked strong here and there, most of the time it has felt like their opponent has been overextending and outplaying themselves. And I mean, so far LFO feel like they are playing that way at the moment. Kanga, again, not doing anything too crazy. Holding rotates and flushing out defenders quite generically, really. LFO maybe trying to be a little bit too fancy, a little bit too aggressive. Just giving them picks and not really giving their team a fighting chance.
On top of that, they also made the risky choice to repeat bomb site. They went kitchen twice in a row, which isn't always the norm. And I mean, there's no acceptable good or bad for that. But if you're going to repeat bomb site, you want to be so sure that you know what you need to fix, because it is a bit riskier, so to speak. So we haven't seen their bar cocktail hold, and that means neither is Kanga. This is fresh in their minds. And right now, half the round is burned away, and they don't have piano control. They don't have cigar control. So that is actually quite good for LFO at this stage of the round.
C4 from Sogs at the top of red. Won't find its pick, but Mims has been taken down by Campo. Sogs is in a pretty powerful position here to maybe clear off Novakes, who's now opening up that red wall to his left. He goes across the doorway here. Could find himself in trouble, but Sogs drops the hatch, is droned, and will be forced to rotate. Control of Lounge now basically given to Kanga. Nasty. Now with a minute to go, needs to try and hold off Pixel.
It's pretty important here, and also Novakes, he's going to be trying to open this backstore wall, and actually no, he's using it to get in towards trash bags, which is hard right here of his position. This is quite the common plant spot for a lot of teams, and this means that Kanga are pretty set up here to potentially get a plant down. Campo does have a great line of sight here in towards backstore and washroom. One right around the corner that he might be able to catch the corner of, not quite. It's going to push deep through bar, and this is going to be a bit of a banger final end to this round, Guz.
Campo pounces and finds his double for the round and a triple. He's going off here. Now it's up to Nasty to try and defend it, but he himself will be taken out. And now it's Sogs left in a 3-on-1 post plant. Kanga, they have someone on the roof. This round basically unwinnable for LFO, and Kanga will take it. They're on match point, Raven. They could well get their very first win of Six Masters.
Oh boy, they might just do it, guys. And I mean, they've been in these positions, they've had match points before, and they haven't been able to secure it. It could be another heartbreaking overtime loss for Kanga. But quite frankly, with their form, the way they're playing in this map right now, and the way LFO is playing, I really feel like they've got this. I don't want to jinx them. Too late, to be honest. I just said it. But we'll see. And look, LFO going back to kitchen, which they have had 0 success on right now.
3 attacks straight on Cafe, definitely nothing to be snuffed at whatsoever, and 3 convincing rounds at that. LFO feeling the most pressure they probably have all season. If they lose this next round, if they lose any of the next 3 rounds,
Attackers need to locate
they
and
cannot
defuse
make the
bomb.
playoffs. They cannot make the top 4. They need to win this map to be a chance. This is high stakes for them. Many at the start of this season wrote them off. No one thought they'd ever be in a position for playoffs, but here we are. It's crunch time for them. They have to win 3 rounds straight. It's definitely an uphill battle here for LFO.
10 seconds remaining.
Love to see what they've got in store. I mean, they've attempted this twice now, and both
5
times
seconds
Kanga has
remaining.
basically ran over the top of them. For them to go here again, you'd hope
Attackers must locate
got
and
something a
defuse
little
the
bit
bomb.
better up their sleeves. And again, they chose this map. They chose to be here right now, and they aren't really showing a whole lot out of it. You know, guys like this, if you told me that this was Kanga's map pick and that Coastline was LFO's, I'd be 100% convinced by that.
Bomb located by attackers.
Definitely agree with you on that one. As it looks like LFO going for a more traditional hold here on site. Foregoing the heavy roam that they've attempted previously. That may well be the play. That might be the change that they need.
A bomb has been located.
There's good time management from Kanga on this top-down push. Campo already in second floor. They did manage to catch 2 rotating last time, and that's not the play from LFO in this instance. All 5 of them on the first floor. Mims is really the only one that's far away from site there in Bakery, and I mean, that's not far at all. He's already gone back to prep, as no one is pushing him. Maybe he's going to go on a bit of a run, peeking down towards red. But that means Kanga have got free reign of vertical control.
Spruce gets to work with the sledgehammer. He'll use a grenade to clear off this electricity. May well clear the hatch. No, it won't. So there's still an electro claw on the hatch. Ash's breaching charge will be used to clear that, in fact. And that will allow no Vaix to get the hatch if he so desires.
440 sledging being done by Spruce yet again. He needs to be able to find some picks here, because a big part of this is getting vertical control. And if you don't get picks or you don't work these positions well enough on site, then all this time commitment's for naught. Really important here. Sog's got tagged up, not going. That C4 is very threatening in that position. They're just waiting for the right time. Exothermic Breach has gone off. Not sure if that was Hatch or even Freezer. Kanga are really looming over the top of LFO on site now.
45 seconds and Spruce will get the first pick. Campo drops the hatch aggressively and could find a couple more. Currently going 14 and 7 in this round, and that's another for the bank. That's Hills taken down. It's a 3-on-5 in favor of Kanga, and Campo just keeps shutting them down one after another, and now Mims is left in a 1 versus 5. Kanga on the edge of winning their very first map, and they will finally convert it with a flawless round. It took them the whole season, but they finally managed to do it. And Leb is absolutely loving it.
They did it. And yes, I'm sure Leb is going to lap this up. And you know what? Some of us might call this the House of Xenox, but I think right now it's the House of Kanga. They've got the dub in 6 Masters at the last hurdle.
Ecstasy for Kanga, but LFO now very unlikely to make the playoffs, and that is a very, very rough scenario for them. The night started off so great, such a great performance on Coastline, but then on Cafe, their map pick, things just did not go their way.
No, I mean, like, Kanga's attack half told the story of that map. I think it's fair to say they absolutely ran over the top of LFO in that second half. So I'm not sure what happened there. They went missing and just never got it back, whether it was the pressure getting the better of them or not. Either way, look, I'm happy for Kanga to get their win. It's a little sad that LFO are basically now done with their season. They do have another match, but playoffs is not looking like their thing anymore.
I think it's definitely still a little bit possible because they can get a maximum of 9 points in the last week now because they got 3 tonight. Then they have to double Ferox and get 6, right? That would put them currently, as we sit at the moment, equal third. But they have to hope that a lot of results go their way. And on top of that, they need to beat Ferox, which is going to be a tall order. So losing to Kanga could prove critical in their run. And I mean, if they miss out by 3 points, and that 3 points can be attributed to a Kanga loss, that's going to hurt.
Yeah, like we said, it's a complicated web of math in terms of how people are going to finish in these playoffs, but it really does look much less likely now for LFO. And that is Kanga being the first team now that's finished for Six Masters. They've played their final games, and they are also ending in 8th place. But look, they're going to be stoked that they got the win. I'm looking forward to the interview because it has been a season of sad interviews with Kanga, and they're going to be beaming after that.
Well, talking about interviews, we have one ready with LFO. It will be their coach, Enigma. Enigma, the suit, it's looking amazing, mate, but unfortunately the scoreline on Cafe didn't. What went wrong?
Thankfully I was able to listen. I think that, we just gave them too much. I was listening to what you guys were saying pre-game, mostly speaking about, not falling into the trap of VOD reviewing other teams too much. And obviously, as Lovely Raven put it, biting your own tail, I believe it was. Yep. I think that we just gave them a little bit too much. And consequently, it fell apart, unfortunately. There's not much more to it.
Yeah, and you guys have another big match still to finish off Six Masters against Ferox on Thursday. Maybe tell us how you're feeling about that. This being a super week means you've had to prepare for 2 teams. What are your thoughts moving in towards Thursday now?
So again, I really, took note about, what went wrong with us against Sinister, what went wrong against us with Knights. And one thing that we were just continuously noticing is we're just trying to play our game based upon how they play. And, rather than actually just playing our own game. So, we had this inclination that Kanga would take us on to Coastline. So we just thought, instead of having them, having us play their game, we're going to just play our own game. So on Ferox on Thursday, we're going to do the exact same thing. We've been, scrimming quite hard over the past week. So hopefully we can finish off our 6 Masters runs with a win. A win would be pretty nice, to be frank.
Last quick question, which I'm sure everybody really wants to know, is what are you guys feeding Mims, and where can we get it?
Honestly, that man, I think he fed himself a HSP prior. I don't know what it was. He just felt like he was on, and then I saw these 2 aces come round, and honestly, none of us could believe it. And to get one of the highest, I think the highest KDR actually in 6 Masters, and especially again coming from a team of literally nobodies. I think it's we've really proven our point, and I'm excited for next game and then next season, of course.
All right, well, Enigma, it's a pleasure as always. We'll talk again soon, and all the best.
Thanks, boys. See you later.
A little bit of positivity never went astray. It's good to see that his spirits are still up, despite, again, their chances of playoffs being really, really slim now. A rough night. Hopefully they can move forward, though, and learn some lessons, which is the sort of mindset I think that they should have.
Yeah, and we said it at the start as well. I mean, coming into the entire season, if we want to take a step back, people would have written them off. They would have had probably high expectations of themselves, but it would have just been, let's have a run, boys, and see how we go. And they've made waves. They've taken maps off. We'll recap it again. They've taken maps off Elevate, Okami, Wildcard. That is definitely nothing to be sneezing at. So even if they don't end up making playoffs, they've had such a good 6 Masters given the way that they entered into it.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be a dangerous team going forward. I mean, they have been on the up throughout this season. They've hit a little bit of a speed bump at the end, but I think they're still going to be on an upwards trajectory, and heading into some of the future tournaments here in Australia, they're going to be ones to watch out for, and they're going to be really, really dangerous.
And they now have experience under their belt, which is what they lacked coming into this. They've played a full season. They've seen how it feels to go through a full season, the ups and downs, how you manage your map pool and strategies over a season, because it's not just about a single series or a single weekend of qualifiers. It's more than that. So now they've got that experience. It does enable them to build upon that for the following tournaments and whatever's to come.
Well, we've talked up LFO massively. Let's talk about Kanga. They took their time. They were patient. They waited all season to win a single map, and they finally did it on their opposition's map pick. I am speechless. I'm so happy for them. Finally, they did it. Oh, amazing.
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't have waited any bloody longer if they wanted to, man. The final map of their Six Masters season. Look, I'm sure they're going to be stoked, and I'm happy for them. It was always a sad thing, after casting Six Masters, jump onto Twitter, suss what people are saying, and you always see some of the Kanga players, especially Leb's tweets, man, were always so depressing. So I'm stoked for them that they got the win in the end, and now they can put this behind them and just move forward and try and build up some solid form and some foundations.
And I think the best part about this is that so often Leb blames me because I'm casting him when he loses all the time, apparently. But look, the curse has been beaten, Leb. So there you go. I'm not the problem. But you know who is the problem? You know who is the problem though, Raven? It's Spruce. We've got him on the line. Let's say good day.
Okay. Hey guys.
Spruce, you're smiling. What's going on, mate? How are you?
It's been a long 5 months in the wilderness, but I'm here in Winland, so it's happy to be here, boys. Happy to be here.
Man, look, we've been saying how excited we are to do a winning interview with you. Tell us about the winning map. Tell us about Cafe. How did you guys feel going into it? What allowed you to end up playing so well this time?
Well, it was looking a bit dim after defense. We played pretty bad, to be honest. I think I kind of almost threw like 2 of those defenses. Like, I don't know how my Echo Drone didn't get I must have missed. And then the Nitro on the planter, I'm not sure how that didn't get it either, but I'm not going to criticize the game at all. It's a great game. Yeah, but we just composed ourselves for the attacks. We followed our defaults and we executed on them.
Nicely done. Nicely put.
Thank you.
Look, let's look beyond Six Masters. Now that it is over for you guys, you're the first team to finish up with Six Masters. What is your mindset and how are you guys approaching what is beyond?
Well, we were getting close, like throughout all of Six Masters. I don't know how many match points we threw, but I'm sure it'd be a statistic I'd look at it with dread. But there were signs throughout Six Masters. It's more I think experience is one thing. Like, sure, LFO are pretty inexperienced, but I think by the end we had Campo is pretty inexperienced, like Novax is pretty inexperienced. Like, when I'm the most experienced player on a team, it's always, it's not looking good, boys. So, it was a good experience for everyone, and we just got to keep building off it.
Well, of course, despite you guys having a pretty rough season, there was a lot of support in the community for Kanga. What would you like to say for all the Kanga fans out there this evening?
Thanks for sticking around, boys. Love you all. I'm gonna shave now, guys. I'm gonna finally shave this beard off. So I'll see you later, eh? Peace out.
See you, Spurs. Have a fun
See ya.
shave.
Well.
Oh no.
Well, look, that's way for Spruce to end classic Spruce interviews.
I hope he actually shaves himself and he doesn't actually fake it. He better. Next time he's streaming, I better see a clean-shaven Spruce. So I'm going to be very disappointed.
I agree. Look, I like the sentiment that he approached there about the experience of Campo and Novax, which is actually something we didn't really talk about much, in that they were new players to this roster, but they were also new to this level, just like LFO were as a whole team. And that does count for something. And Campo is a great sign of some of the prowess that they can have. He had a huge cafe. He fully enabled them to be able to get that win. And let's not overshadow Novax either. He's had a fantastic debut last couple of weeks.
Well, me and Raven, we need to go shave. So you guys can have a quick break and we'll be back for the next series. We'll see you soon.